This is a trip, February 28th, Tuesday, around 10:45 in the morning, and I'm up at Georgia State doing laundry. They have free washing machines now. They used to, back when I was here a couple years ago, you'd have to pay in order to do your laundry, but now, I don't know why they decided to, but for some reason now it's free for the students, and so last year I realized I could come up here and do my laundry when at the apartment I was at they didn't have a washer or dryer, and so I came up here and I found out that you could do it for free, and I've always remembered that. And so now in my new apartment, where I also cannot do laundry because there's no washer or dryer, I have returned to the Commons in order to do so. And in the Commons there are these really cool things, these community rooms, which are like these, I don't know, maybe 270-degree glass enclosed rooms that look out onto the city from different angles depending on which building inside the Commons you go into. The Commons themselves have 4 main towers, A, B, C, D, and so each one of those more or less faces north, south, east, west in a varying degree. And so right now I'm looking out onto the Capitol building with its gold encrusted dome sort of shining out the pale sunlight coming through this somewhat overcast day. Didn't really plan to do laundry today, and so this is going to end up being a laundry cast recording just in between washing and drying. But it's supposed to really rain. It's supposed to be really rainy this week, and I didn't really want to have to try to wash my clothes and stuff sometime later in the week when I would actually really need to if it was going to be pouring down rain. And so today I woke up and realized that I should just do this. I woke up not feeling very good, just in general. I feel bodily fine, but I just feel kind of down, a little sad. And I've been writing the You Are There Girl still, and I finished a response to her last night. It took about 2.5 hours or so. And she told me that she knows someone who, when they feel down or sad or just not having a good day, they tend to write some sort of letter of admiration to someone who they look up to. And she said that usually helps the person that she knows. And I think I would like to do that today, but earlier when I was really feeling the brunt of just not feeling like I'm in a good spot, I don't know, I just wasn't motivated to do that. I needed to get out of the house, and if I had to sit there and write something in the environment that I felt was already tainted with these bad feelings, I don't think it would have turned out very well. But now that I'm out, up at State, looking out onto Atlanta, watching all the people below me, I feel better. And so I think I'll still write that letter to someone who I admire later, thanks to You Are There. And the You Are There girl, she's been doing some interviews of her friends, and she said that her doing that were partially inspired by listening to Molt, and I think that's really cool, and I've really been enjoying listening to the people that she has interviewed some of her friends and important people in her life, and all these, I don't know, just these different voices and these different people that, she knows well, and I don't know at all. And then it's cool to hear these people talk and hear just the depth of what is their life. And I would never otherwise probably hear a single word from them, or even be able to see their face or acknowledge their existence. But she's bringing these clips and posting them on the internet, and there's something really, really cool about that, something that I really respond to. I don't remember, I guess the last time I recorded, although it wasn't necessarily a clip of a multi-type clip, was last Saturday, where I was at the dinner party with my family, and I was there with the Myers and Miss Myers' parents, and I biked home that day. I haven't had my good road bike, for a couple days now. I took it to the shop Saturday, actually, and so I've been riding a mountain bike around, which has been pretty exhausting, especially biking to and from Lilburn with that heavy bike has been quite, not an impossible struggle, but definitely a struggle nonetheless. And today I think I'm supposed to get my bike back, and I had a really bad experience riding the Marta the other day. When I took my bike to get it serviced, nothing happened, but I just realized how broken of a system it is, and it just takes forever to get anywhere you want to go. So I've definitely decided today, when I get my bike, assuming that it's done, that I'm just going to ride my mountain bike up there. It's probably, 5 miles away or so, and just put my road bike on my back or something and ride back with it. I feel like that's a good idea for two reasons. One, I think I can do it, and the actual struggle of it's going to make me happy. And two, that might be somewhat of an amazing sight, and so maybe I'll meet someone through that, someone who sees that and just wants to talk to me, So we'll see what happens with that. I'm hoping to get my bike back today. That would be nice. I miss it. Yesterday was supposed to be my first day at Whole Foods, like my first real orientation. Day 2 is what it's called. And it's supposed to be a day where you learn the ins and outs of the store that you'll actually be working at. And somehow, through the purest form of accident that I've ever experienced in my life, I didn't know that I was actually supposed to have attended a training session last week on the 22nd, and that might be a big part of why I don't feel very good today, just about where I'm at and what I'm doing. It's weird because I feel kind of worthless and just like a barnacle, just, attaching myself somewhere and just leeching life off of other things. If I had had my job this week, I would have already been making money, meeting people. My friend Jake of I Am Incredulous fame and Trench Party renown once said that a lot of his self-worth was directly related to whether or not he had a job and whether or not he was making money. And I haven't had a job for a long time, but I've always lived well below my means, just very frugal and very conscious of what you actually need versus what you want. And it's made me sort of always snicker a little bit when I hear people say they need something, because I have very much so clearly defined what need means to me as a person. And so not having a job right now, but wanting to have this year, and conceivably all the years that come ahead, wanting to be financially independent and just stand on my own 2 feet. I feel like I've been pushed back more than just as far as this job is concerned. I feel like I'll just never do it, even though I know I will. It's just, when you feel bad, it's not rationality that's making you feel bad. If you're going to feel bad, odds are you're somehow viewing something irrationally. And so right now I irrationally feel like, the success of my life is bound to my current situation. And since my current situation is a little bit diminished and less than what I would have liked, that's sort of, invading my mood. So basically, though I should have started working today, I have to wait now another week so that I can go to this orientation on this coming Saturday, the 3rd of March, I believe it is. And so, it's weird because when it happened, when I was told that I missed the training session, I did it. I was like standing in the door, just complete disbelief. I just said like I didn't mean to, and it was just I didn't have any idea whatsoever, And I'm not the kind of person who would not go to something because I wanted to do something else. Responsibility and doing what's right to me gives me the most fulfillment. And so I felt angry, but it was like a directionless anger. There was nowhere to point this anger or release it or anything, because I wasn't mad at myself, because I didn't feel as though I had done anything wrong consciously, so I didn't feel like self-loathing or anything, nor did I feel like it was anyone else's fault. I did get a lot of paperwork when I first went to Whole Foods, which I guess is when they told me that the time and the day of my orientation, but for some reason I just didn't make the connection, and so I don't know, it's weird. There's no blame to be dispersed, but I still feel like this weird vague sense of anger towards the situation, which is ridiculous. And so today I'm going to go and apologize to the man who hired me, Larry, and just let him know that, if there's anything I can do in this first week that I actually am employed, which will be the week following this coming Saturday, to kind of show my sincerity in acknowledging that I did something wrong, working a later shift or coming in early or working longer, something. Anything I can do to show, to make that apology a little bit more substantial, I'd be happy to do. Because, he hired me on the spot and said he didn't usually do that. He had a good feeling about me, and it's still, all of that's true. I don't want it to be tarnished whatsoever by having missed the training session. And so I just want him to know that that's the way I feel. And so I have an unforeseen week off of work, which is good and bad. Today's Tuesday already, but I'm not feeling great about it. So, and it's supposed to be rainy all week, which is kind of appropriate. I won't be able to fully enjoy a week out of work, one last week of time to myself, determining what and how I do things by myself, for myself. But anyway,
I still recall that day with that rattlesnake you photographed. I saw him strike at you, it's in that photograph. You got killed, so a long gap. I climbed the fence to see, watching from 20 feet. I cried to you, my warning plea. That's when he struck at you, it's in that photograph. You got killed, so a long gap. Granddad said stop this truck.
this week, what I'd like to do a few things. Definitely want to keep recording, want to keep writing, just writing to people and writing for myself. I'd like to go up to NPR, the NPR local WABE station building, which is up actually close to Pineapple House. And I may do that today. I'm not quite sure if I will or not. Depends on what I hear about my bike. But I had a little bit of an epiphany. When I've been riding my mountain bike, I haven't been listening to music the entire time, as I usually do with the road bike. And so when I rode to and from Lilburn, it was a lot of time just to think about things. And for some reason, on the way to Lilburn, I felt very clear-headed, and I was able to really think. I felt as if I had had like a lot of coffee, but it was a very clear-headed think, and I hadn't had virtually any coffee. But anyway, I just kind of had this. I've been thinking a lot about Atlanta recently, and this clip that I recorded of my Uncle Stephen that will either be featured in this clip, this podcast episode, or the next one. I was talking to him about what the biggest problems in Atlanta are and how you could possibly fix these problems and what can be done on, an individual level. And so, I'll let what he answered that question speak for itself. What he answered that question with speak for itself. But when I was thinking about that on my bike by myself, I kind of had this memory of my friend Noah Orsich's dad telling us, Noah and I, that if we really want to live in a good city, we should move to a good city, because Atlanta has come a long way and is still, moving forward, but ultimately it's a function of time, and it becoming a great city will be much further down the road. And my uncle echoed that, saying that it wouldn't happen in his lifetime. It's not going to become a great city in the next 20 years or so. And so I thought about Chicago and, my recent love of recording things and trying to get, for people to show me the depth of their human experience. A lot of that kind of stuff is done by This American Life, the NPR program that comes on Sundays, syndicated throughout the states. And so I started thinking about maybe, rather than looking into things like the Peace Corps and Teaching for America and all these programs that I've been looking at lately, for things to do after graduation, maybe I should focus on the things that I actually already have a talent and a knack for, rather than trying to do these things that on the surface make me feel like doing them would make me feel good as a person. It's easy. You don't have to justify why you go into the Peace Corps. If you say you want to go into the Peace Corps, it's obvious that you want to do that because you want to help people, and you want to travel, and you just want to experience, which I want all those things. But, in my day-to-day life, I'm not necessarily obsessed with travel or, immersing myself in different cultures. I love it when it happens, but, I'm more apt to do what I'm doing right now, which is, spend 20 minutes while I wait for the laundry to finish. And so, as I'm thinking about the future and having to deal with what it seems to be the biggest plague of our generation, which is just, what do you do after school? Everyone wants to do something they love. No one wants to get stuck at a desk. But, it's a generational difference between, myself and my parents and people my age and their parents as well. It's just like, I feel when our parents were getting jobs, they were just happy to get a job. They were still maybe sort of riding that momentum of the baby boomers and all, who came back after World War II and were just happy to have employment and stability and just didn't want to have to think about, the Depression era that had preceded the Great War and not having enough and everything. They just wanted to work, they wanted money, they wanted stability. And now, by and large, my socioeconomic and demographic group, we have that stability, we have that comfort. And so now, especially per Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we don't want to just stay comfortable. We want to go further towards self-actualization. So no one wants to work, for AT&T up in a building, up in a cubicle. We all want to be artists or, cure cancer. We all have lofty ideas of what we want to do. And so I feel like I'm definitely in that crowd as well, trying to figure out what it is that I want to do and what my ability and skills are. And I hope that I have real abilities and skills. I feel like I do, and things that set me apart. But days like today, mornings like this morning, they make me question how much that's true, to what degree it's true. And so the possibility of moving to Chicago after I graduate and pursuing a career in radio has become a consideration. And it's something I really want to look into, and it's something I really want to be serious about, and it's something that I want to think about for no less than a year before I really make any serious commitments to do it. I'll graduate with a degree in psychology and Japanese, which isn't necessarily the most appropriate degree for a career in radio, but I don't mind working hard. Working hard and struggle have never been a turnoff for me. I'd rather do that. And so if I could graduate, move to Chicago, which I know a few people in Chicago, really just one that comes to mind, Jesse Budlong, which he might be able to help me when I would first get there. But moving to Chicago and just learning that city, getting kind of a throwaway job for a while, and really just trying to work my way into NPR. And, that's a thought, and it's a really romantic thought, and it would be a really hard thing to do. And I think I could do it, but it's a scary thought because, I'd really be putting myself out there to a degree that I never have before. And so, thinking about that, and if I have any more realizations in that direction, I'll be sure to let you know. But as of right now, it's just a thought. Yesterday, Monday, before things went so awry with work, I had plans to meet with a girl named Ariel Burgess, and she's actually a person who I met in this very dormitory. And, I knew her from a distance and never really had gotten to know her other than, more than just what her name was. But the other day I saw her while we were both biking in Little Five Points, and we made eye contact and smiled. And I thought it was her, but she had cut her hair, I guess she said, in September. And so she had very short hair, and she'd always had long when I had seen her a couple years ago. And so it was a little hard to recognize her, but smiled, and later that day we had like a little Facebook chat and made some loose plans to meet up with each other that I followed up on at Dad's Garage when I went to that show on Friday night by myself, an improv show that was a little bit lonely to go to by myself, but still funny. I was drunk enough for it to be funny and to look past the loneliness. Made plans to meet with her on Monday and just talk. And so we went to Octane yesterday morning. I met around 10 o'clock, and it was a really good time. I mean, it was interesting because, I felt like I had to foster the entire flow of conversation. She's a very intelligent girl, and she definitely has a lot to say. Very opinionated. She's like a vegan and very interested in farming and organic food and just being conscious of what she puts in her body, which is sort of not to diminish her passion for these things, but it's a very interesting, new trend in Atlanta for young people to kind of follow this route. It's weird because I remember in high school, the biggest trend for the underground scene people was, tight jeans and swoopy hair and hoodies and stuff. And that kind of evolved into this weird kind of grungy, not unbathed, the tight jeans hoodie era was a lot more clean and well-dressed era of fashion, and that devolved into this weird grungy, dirty kind of careless look that people adopted, where they would just like not cut their hair or shave or wear nice clothes anymore. And then that's further devolved into like this interesting, like strange, like subsistence farmer kind of vibe, where people are like really into organic food and wanting to live off the land. I feel like everyone wants to be a farmer now, and like folk music seems to be making a resurgence, or at least becoming more popular than it was. And there's like this weird romanticized imagery that I feel like people are sharing of just wanting to be a farmer and just live on land and drink beer and smoke cigarettes and stuff and just kind of live like that, like extremely simply. And so anyway, Ariel doesn't necessarily subscribe to all that stuff, but she is concerned and interested in what she eats, and she's really interested in bikes and biology. She has a lot of tattoos, and so she was interesting, a very interesting person. And again, I just had to like ask her a million questions, which I was very thankful that we went to a cafe, because if I didn't have that little bit of caffeine hovering on my brain, it would have been a little bit more difficult to keep the flow going from one question to the next, because I was able to, when she would answer something, one question, she would inevitably, pull the string for me to see a follow-up question that would be interesting and worth asking. And so that was good, because the flow of conversation never really dipped out into silence, but there were a few times that it kind of threatened to. But after being at Octane for like 2 hours, we went back to her apartment she just moved into, and we watched this really cool movie called Macaframa. It's like this awesome fixed gear expose kind of video, where people are just doing tricks in California, going down extremely steep hills, like really, really fast with no brakes. And it was very, very cool. And got to see her room and like the books and stuff that she has. She likes to read a lot, which reading has recently been a topic I've been discussing with several of my friends. The You Are There girl reads a lot. Noah, I've been talking to Noah a lot while he's been in Nevada about reading and just how little reading I do from day to day. And then with Ariel as well, reading. We talked about that, though. I didn't have much to say. It's funny because when people hear me speak, sometimes they think that I read a lot because of my vocabulary. But in reality, I don't really read at all. When I have free time, I do other things. And biking around Atlanta and depending on that as my transportation, I don't really feel like I have much free time. I have time and it's free, but I have yet to really sit down and devote it to reading. I don't really know why, but I just don't. And so, I think the majority of my speaking ability and my vocabulary has really come from watching lectures and debates and documentaries and all these things. I think I'm more of an auditory learner, and I can just really focus on my listening, and I think that's what kind of makes me a good listener as well. Listening is a big tool of mine. I use it in many ways. And so, I always feel bad because people, they suggest me to read books, and I like to take up people on their suggestions, or at least investigate them. But, something I've realized recently, especially with all of this stuff about reading, is that I have to start determining, how much I will go out of my way to indulge someone else's suggestion, because I only have so much time, especially recently when I feel like I've been really crunched for time and having to run around the city all day, and just, when I do get free time to myself, I like to go to a cafe and, work on Molt or writing something. And so I need to be able to, I don't know, acknowledge that I'm thankful for people's suggestions, but if they are going to be extremely time consuming, I need to also let them know that I just can't do that, Just be honest, be truthful. I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to write a book because of this same kind of like no reading practice that I have. Man, I'm looking down at the street and this guy looks like he's about to get electrocuted. It's like a worker. Okay, it was an optical illusion. There's a guy on a ladder, and he's on a van fixing a sign, and it looked like he was really close to hitting the power lines, and I probably would have had to watch someone die from above, a little bit like God. Anyway, this will be the last thing that I talk about, and then my clothes are definitely done, and then I'm going to go to a cafe. I think it's a weird aspiration for me to have, even a vague, sort of formless aspiration, to want to write a book when I don't really read books. I think that it could still happen, but I would need a lot of help from an editor in order to accomplish it. But as one who doesn't often read, it's weird for me to think about wanting to write a book. Because, the inherent structure in a book, if you're going to be a writer, I feel like there's like a flow to literature that you become accustomed to by reading. And I know a bunch of different authors have always said that if you want to become a great writer, you just have to read. And to me, that makes sense. But I don't know. That might be sort of an antiquated kind of word of advice, since we have the internet now, and we don't have to, our cultural exposure is not, it's not just coming from books anymore. We have YouTube and Google and all of these different inputs and outlets to find information, and, it's changing the way that we have to take in information. And so we'll see. I don't know. Just a thought. But my laundry's done, so I'm going to go put it in the dryer, and then I'm going to head out and come back later and pick it up. I usually will go back after putting my laundry into the washer, but that's a little bit ridiculous, because then I end up making like 6 trips back and forth between my apartment and the Commons, because I have to come to the Commons, put my laundry in the washer, leave, go back to my apartment, wait 30 minutes, come back to the Commons, put my laundry in the dryer, leave, wait an hour, and come back to the Commons and pick up my laundry, which has now been dried and everything. And so that's a little bit stupid. That's definitely not the best way it could be done. So this was much better. And now it's time to go tend to my stuff. And I will talk to you later. Bye. This first clip is featuring my friend Alex Wharton. Recently, he played a concert, a reunion show up in Dahlonega, Georgia, with Trench Party. And it had been a long time since Trench Party's played, and the head of Trench Party, Jake Cook, spent about a year and a half in Dahlonega. And so going back there was a pretty emotional experience for all of us. And I sort of caught Alex in the midst of a realization, and I was able to record it. And this is what he had to say.
I always feel like I'm plateauing, and that my life is pretty much doesn't change at all. And it hasn't, and like, it's weird because it can be like explained and sort of degraded by saying that like, oh, my life is so much better now because I have like a new job, or I have like a better life because I have I guess just more freedom or something like that, or like not being in school or something like that. it's almost just like sort of how depression works. Like, it could be bipolarism. I don't know. It could be something like that. But it's just like it's just the same. It's just a snap. It's just like a switch that is turned, and I don't know. I guess all I'm saying is that I don't know what I'm thinking about right now. I don't really understand where my everything in my body right now, like the nerve endings of everything. And it's not just because I'm stoned, because I've been stoned millions of times, and I don't understand
What makes this one special?
I don't. If somebody were somebody in my head were trying to tell me that I'm just stoned and this is how I feel all the time, I would have a really big problem with that, because I don't understand. I don't understand what I'm feeling right now. When I'm stoned, I pretty much understand exactly what I'm feeling, and I hate how much I understand exactly how I'm feeling. And right now, I feel like I was just born almost, but I was born. I died yesterday, and I woke up today, and it was a new beginning to my life, and there's no reason for it. There's no explanation for it. All that happened was that I was. Is that now I am this way, and now I'm going to be this way forever. I'm going to be this way for a really long time until I'm some other way, and then I'm going to be that way for the rest for another however long, so on and so forth.
You've climbed up from a plateau. You're ascending.
Yes.
And the ascent is new territory.
I can't fathom a decline right now. I mean, everything that happens to me is like totally insignificant, because it has like a 1% effect on me.
Total.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean to say that my life is really always just a matter of what happens to me being that 1%, and how I react to it being that 99%.
Okay.
So I think from reactions, from all the reactions that I've had, I don't know. I'm really happy to be right here, right now, and that's all I care about.
That's awesome.
Everything's moving pretty slowly. I'll admit that. That might be an effect of the beer. So,
Well, let me ask you
that's that.
sort of an abstract question. What is worse, plateauing or descending?
Plateauing for sure.
Yeah.
Because the reason a plateau is a zero. It's a completely empty number. There's nothing to plateauing. Seriously, on like a chart or something, where you imagine a steady rise, a slope, and then a plateau, and then maybe a decline, and then or whatever.
Yeah.
The slope is just, it might as well be like this blown up point, like this one inference point that actually, it's not, I don't know, it's one thing. It's just like this big circle. It actually is like a big circle.
Right.
It's sort of the same thing all the time, and it is
Cyclical.
like rolling in circles.
Right. You can't
Nothing
get anything.
changes.
Okay.
Right.
It's constant.
Yeah.
Right.
But I guess what I found from that is the circle can be 3D. That doesn't really make sense, but there's I guess it's okay if I feel like I'm plateauing. And it's better if I feel like I'm declining, because declining usually I think that's like sort of pretty much how karma works.
Yeah.
A decline is a sign is like a sign or a foreshadowing of an incline. It's like fiction. So it's okay if shitty stuff happens,
Yeah.
because that just means that good things are gonna happen.
It's a promise of something to change. Because if you're going down, I guess the only way you can go from there is up.
And therefore, if you hate yourself, like if you really don't like yourself at this point in your life, I guess if current experience will remain the same for however long, then eventually you're going to love yourself to a great degree. And I feel like if that's true, then you can only begin to love others more than yourself. helpless all the time, and then sort of realizing, I guess, realizing why the world is really, really beautiful, and why the reason that bad things happen really doesn't matter, because there's some sort of ultimate good or a release in self-actualization that everything else is just interesting. It's just significant, or it's not significant. It's insignificant, but it's just interesting. It's just like interesting facts or something like that. Something you can laugh at.
It's not. It doesn't have to crush you.
Yeah.
The bad things don't have to be the end of the world or whatever. Yeah.
The more that you can laugh about the good stuff, even though if your laughter is out of like a lack of respect for something, like just like that guy, whoever or whatever is obviously completely and totally bullshit, false stuff. If you can stop getting mad about that shit, stuff that really doesn't affect you, just like homosexuality, people being gay doesn't affect you, really, then I don't know, it's bliss, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel good. I'm about to play a show. About to play a Trench Party show in, well, it's
already
9:20.
late. Yeah.
It was line 11 9 minutes ago.
We all made wishes.
We did.
Beggar in the streets, he asks for food to eat, or even down to spend. I walk and feel as if I never can. Oh Lord,
This next clip is featuring my friend Stephen Abbott,'s wife, Kayla, and it takes place at the same Trench Party show where I recorded Alex and his realization. And it's basically Kayla talking about the African country Liberia and Africa sort of in general, and sort of traveling and things like that. And some of the stories that she tells are really graphic and sort of hard to hear, hard to listen to, just because of their content. But at the same time that they're difficult, I think it's probably good for us as Westerners and Americans in particular to hear these stories, because it seems like most Americans have a sense of a lot of the turmoil and brokenness of Africa, but not very many people can cite specific examples or can even really point to actual countries on a map and say this is an African country, this is a tribe in Africa, things like that. We don't have much information about Africa, though it is out there. And so this is Kayla talking about Liberia and just telling us a few things that are going on there.
Would you ever want to go to Liberia?
Yeah, I've been thinking about going to Monrovia and seeing what it's like, because I hadn't really been aware. I'd been aware of peace movements in general, but I hadn't been aware of the specific role that women are trying to play as an autonomous unit of peace building. And it seems like they stand out as a peace building group of people in certain ways where they have different skills than other people. The way that civil war in Liberia was ended, a large part of the reason that it ended is because this one woman, Lema Bowie, and I guess a lot of other people, of course, she started this peace movement among the indigenous women, and she united with some Muslim friends. She united Christian and Muslim women, which had never happened in Liberia, and they just held mass sit-ins just for months all over the place, and went to talk to other women in small rural areas and get them involved, and there just became this mass action, and eventually they just they started negotiating with this dude Charles Taylor, who was the president at the time, who was just this really fucked up leader who supplied Sierra Leone with massive amounts of guns for diamonds. Well, Sierra Leone was also doing this child slave soldier thing.
That seems to be sort of a theme in Africa, because they do that in Uganda too, I think.
Yeah. It's a big thing right now. That's what war has turned into in Africa.
I wonder why. Why do you think that is?
Because it I don't know, it gets really brutal and it works really well. I think the tone of war in Africa is going toward it's still active actions, but I think the goal of the actions is more psychological at this point, and they're going anyone. I think that maybe only top level people think of it this way, but I think that it's way more damaging the way that they're doing war with each other. Basically, a lot of them have the idea that they don't care about killing just huge complete populations of people, and they'll just repopulate the area with their own.
So tribal.
Yeah. It's completely tribal. I mean, it's actually tribes pitted against tribes. And so it basically has ruined an entire generation, an entire generation of Liberian kids. The men are, the little boys are completely brutal and violent and don't know how to have relationships.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And the women have all I can't remember the figures, but an overwhelming number, almost all Liberian women have been raped at one point or another, because that's a huge tool also. So basically just and children, you just hear, I've had to watch a bunch of documentaries for this class, and you just hear horrifying story after horrifying story, and this one is I can tell you a horrifying story just so you can get a sense of brutality. So there's this they give these little kids who are between 8 and 15 or 16, 17 guns, and and guns are just so cheap. They're cheaper than food, and they give them guns, and they just send them out in the countryside, and they're like, make your way toward the capital, kill, loot, rape on your way, however you want to, because that's like, just do whatever you have to. And they're just like taught by example that like raping is a major like tool and game for them.
Yeah.
And so like little boys just like rape like old women. And like there's this like video of this one little boy saying like I like older women. It's like fucking a virgin because they haven't fucked in so long. And then there's this one story that just like made me want to die. This woman, one of the tribes of like child soldiers came in to her village, and the leader or one of the leaders like took her and her family aside, and he told her, I want you to make complete eye contact with me and not lose eye contact, and I want you to chant and sing and dance and not stop. And then he gave like orders to two other men, and then as she was like chanting and singing and not losing eye contact, because he said that he would kill her family if she lost eye contact, he said, look to your left. And she looked to her left, and her husband's head was slowly being sawed off. And he said, look to your right. And her daughter was being raped by this enormous man. And then he said, look back at me and continue to sing and dance as long as I say. And so just basically like family units completely destroyed. Like most families only have like a few people left in them. But it's recovering really, really well now. They have a female president, and there's just this major mentality of like getting women into the government and into all the decision making of the country, because everyone's like really grateful for the work that women did during the war to stop it, and also to like reintegrate the child soldiers back into society, because they took on this role of motherism, where you just like treat a society like all of them are your children, and they're like, we love both sides, please don't hurt each other anymore, and like we'll teach you how to live with each other. And so Liberia is getting this like mother influence.
Interesting. So if you went there, what would you do during the Maymaster?
I don't know if I'll go like this year. She does it every year, and it's like $1,500, so I'd have to save money. And it's just like 2 weeks, but you just go on a tour and you meet a lot of the women. I guess you get to go to meetings of there are like a million organizations popping up about like women's peace building in Monrovia and throughout Liberia, and you get to do that, and you get to tour a bunch of villages, and you get like 6 credit hours because you go with the teacher that I had this semester, and she like teaches classes.
Right. So Liberia, that's on the west coast, right? Like,
Liberia.
Is it in that very small cluster of like a bunch of like the Ivory Coast and Ghana? Is it in that direction, or?
Yeah, it's close to Ghana. It's neighbors with Ghana and Sierra Leone. But I can't describe exactly where it is in Africa.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I mean, that's pretty much it about Liberia. There's a lot of other stuff, but you should look into it if you're interested. Africa's totally fucked up and really worthwhile to know about. I think.
Yeah.
Anyone here from the Trench Party? How many people are in your band?
This next clip takes place when my friend Josh and I, we spent all day Thursday together trying to work out some issues he was having with traffic court and his license being suspended. And so we were walking around trying to find the courtroom that we needed to go to so that he could have his hearing and hopefully have his case thrown out, or at least the price of the ticket, lessened or something. And so while we were trying to find a traffic court, we started talking, and it became apparent pretty quickly that it would be a good idea to record what Josh was saying. And so this is the fruit of that. So since you've moved out to Atlanta and been here for 3 years?
4 years.
What's the most important thing you've learned outside of the house and outside of school?
I guess, and this is a broad thing, but just the misery of life, how it's just not all good. It was that thought never had even occurred to me, and I didn't even, when it did occur to me, I didn't even know how to articulate it, and this isn't even a very good way to articulate it.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget a specific moment when I was walking to work, because I had to walk from Grant Park to the Majestic every day, and I remember thinking, I was like, why am I doing this? was like, I could have just gone to college. And I was like, but I didn't want to. And I'd be like, but it would have been easier. And I was like, but yeah, but I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And like, but then it made me think my parents didn't care what I want. They only cared if I wanted what they wanted for me. And then they were not willing to help me at all otherwise. So, I don't know. That was just the beginning of realizing what it's like to be on your own. And it's every day you learn a little something new. So. You're lucky.
Yeah. Ben, I think since he's back now, and I've hung out with him a couple times, he said that a similar kind of thing for him, dropping out of school again. I wonder for you, do you feel like are you brought down a lot by what is expected of you from your parents and society for school and stuff?
Not really.
Not really.
No. I wouldn't say I'm brought down by it. I really want more money.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that I consider going to school. But otherwise, I know that everybody else is retarded.
That's it.
Like, I don't need to hear it from anybody else. I've learned what I learned my own way. And that's one of the benefits to learning that way is nothing can... Like, once you know it at the bottom of your soul. So, it's like when Jake talks about it, it's like, what are you guys talking about? It's like, you just know. I said, once you learn, you know. So, like, I know exactly what I want, and I understand that what I want. It's gonna mean that my life is gonna be harder than it could be.
So you're an alumni of the School of Hard Knocks?
Yes, me and Jay. We're supposed to pass Garnett Street. I'm worried about
Garnett? Yeah. This last clip comes from that same day where Josh and I were trying to figure out everything with his traffic and license stuff. He and I had successfully gotten to the Department of Driver's Services, and it was the end of the day, and Josh had gotten his ticket thrown out, and he only had to pay, I think, $100 for missing his original court date. And so feelings were really, really good. He was trying to get his license reinstated, and it turned out that it wasn't even suspended. So we were able to have a very, very successful day, and it was really a fun hangout day. It's sort of a hangout I think only best friends can really have, where you spend a day doing something that would otherwise be awful. And so this last clip is Josh and I sitting in the chairs at the DMV, what was the DMV, waiting for his number to be called, and he's telling me why he loves Steely Dan, why they are his band.
basic rhythms, which I like. Cause, like I said, I don't like I like Hella, don't get me wrong, right? But I don't like that stop on a dime change rhythm. Like, that's not creative to me. That's just choosing. It's like picking a rhythm and staying in it and trying to vary within that. That's what's interesting to me. Like Don Caballero, perfect example in my opinion. Right. Same with Steely Dan. It's all basic rhythm and they experiment melodically. That's where the experimentation, I feel like, should be.
With the melody.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like, experiment within the notes and the combinations, you know. Well, there's no point experimenting rhythmically because there's infinite rhythms. You could do anything, but within the notes there's only...
That's true. There's only like truly 8.
My musical philosophy, I realized, is I have to exist in boundaries. Mm-hmm. If there were no boundaries, there's nothing for me. Like, there's no point. Yeah. So there has to be very clear boundaries, and then I'm going to spend all my time at the very edge of them and come back to the middle every now and then just to let you know that I'm staying true to these boundaries. Mm-hmm. So that's like Steely Dan is perfect, man. Donald Fagen. I love that shit. So,
how many albums do they have?
They got a lot of albums. Yeah, and that's the first one I've listened to. I've listened to the Donald Fagen and a solo album, which that was his biggest solo album, but he's got like 3 others. And Steely Dan's got tons of shit. So,
are you working your way through the discography?
I plan on it, but right now I'm just listening to what I got. So,
what album is it that you have?
Asia.
Just A-S-I-A.
A-J-A. See, that's an example of their fucking badasses. Asia.
This is a classic album, would you say?
I think so. I think it's like widely regarded by them. So.
Now serving F8.
That's you.
4, 8.
See you later. Good luck.
Number 5.
technology. Find us a nice shady tree. Sing out this might could should be. They talk at the shows, outside they smoke